me personally, if they have Tarzan's Treehouse done, and I know that they're not going to do this, but this is like completely, totally off topic. But in my opinion, I always felt that the Swiss Family Treehouse would fit better in Disneyland, and Tarzan's Treehouse fit better in Disney World. Like I just never really could see the
interesting
of having Tarzan's Treehouse and then you move right into New Orleans Square. Like it just seems like it has that classic Walt Disney touch that I would feel like coming off of New Orleans Square, you would have the Swiss Family Treehouse as opposed to Tarzan. I don't know why.
Well, do you know the story of Tarzan's Treehouse?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I can fill you in if you were fill in our viewers who might not know the story. But Tarzan's Treehouse was originally Swiss Family Robinson's Treehouse. That was how it was constructed back in I believe it was 60s. I want to say 61, 62, something like that. And there's a great story of Slewfoot Sue from the Golden Horseshoe Review, how Walt was trying to figure out the kind of distance for the various stairs as part of that attraction, and I guess he asked her like, hey, come on over here. I need you to get in high heels and walk this and make sure that it's all okay, And that's just kind of how it worked back then. It was pretty fun, pretty great. But anyway, Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse was there. Paul Pressler era comes along. And if you know anything about the Paul Pressler era, it was...
That I do know very well, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it's the... People talk about shape. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I can assure you, Paul Pressler, much worse.
Paul Pressler would be like, hold my beer.
Exactly, right? I mean, this guy was bad. And a lot of established practices that were taken on as part of the Disney Resort after this era came from some of the executive decisions that were a part of this.
I basically call that the pressured Pressler era.
Right. And his idea was cut costs, cut maintenance, and he had a philosophy. If it was good enough for Six Flags, it's good enough for us. Literally, he said that at a corporate event. It was crazy. Anyway, his idea was, you know what? We don't even need a treehouse anymore. No reason to have it. It's walk through. Obviously, it doesn't. You can't facilitate disabled guests as part of that attraction, right? So there's no way for a wheelchair guest to experience that attraction because of how it's laid out and everything. It's from a bygone era. We can just get rid of it. And Tony Baxter just put his foot in the ground and said, hey, look, you get rid of this stuff, you ain't never getting it back. And this is part of the history, the lifeblood of this park. You can't do this. And so as a compromise to keep it there, because I think Paul Pressler wanted to make it another retail location or some other fruit stand or whatever. I mean,
we don't have enough.
That's how his mind works. Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, and the operational issues that came from that kind of mentality. I can go on an hour rant about it, but I will spare you guys. Anyway, as a compromise, it was, okay, look, we have this new movie, Tarzan, that either came out or was coming out, it did decent numbers. It was the end of the Renaissance era. But it was kind of good enough. It was like, hey, let's just redo it and redo Swiss Family Robinson's Treehouse in Tarzan, in kind of the form of Tarzan, to keep it around. And it kind of adjusted. That's where you get the kind of the bridge and the kind of entrance in the middle of that pathway that you see there. And that was all part of Tarzan's Treehouse, but it was all an effort to save it, to keep it around. So I do agree with you. Now that you say it, it probably would have worked better in Walt Disney World, but Disneyland, that was the one on the chopping block, and that's why we got it.
And I have to say, I mean, I don't really go to either treehouse when I'm at the resort. It's just not my cup of tea.
Right.
But I do like the setting place of where it's at, especially at Disneyland, where you're leaving Adventureland and going into New Orleans Square. I think it is. So the fact that they really didn't have a choice back then, as you had explained in that story, that if we had to just make it something just to keep it, then I would definitely appreciate just having something there than nothing. Yeah,
and that kind of mentality, people talk about, hey, we lost Country Bear Jamboree, we lost the original submarine voyage and all that kind of stuff, but it was all it was all these compromises that had to be made. It was all these kind of things where it was like, hey, we better imbue this with a franchise to keep it around because they want to get rid of it, kind of thing. And that's why the things happened the way they did. I will say Tarzan's Treehouse, I agree with you. I don't really go up it all that much, but if you get to the top of that thing, there are some stunning views of the west side of Disneyland that can only be claimed.
I did do each treehouse once. I did do each treehouse once just to say that I did the experience, just to see like the difference of it. And I do agree with you. If you once you reach to the top of that treehouse and you have a moment just to stand there and just get that eye view of everything down below you, it's breathtaking. Yeah.
And it's kind of cool to hear the drums and to hear the soundtrack as you're walking past it. You know, it's kind of it offers a little bit more ambiance, and it's whether you're going into Adventureland or coming out of it to go into New Orleans Square proper. It's kind of that demarcation point. It's nice. It's it's I'd rather have it than not kind of thing. I'd rather. Because we did lose a lot, Fort Wilderness and stuff. It's nice to have those kind of little areas that maybe don't make sense operationally, but for the guests, it actually does add.